As the golden sun began to sink behind the tall pine trees, casting warm amber light through their branches, the gentle forest was preparing for its evening rest. The soft breeze carried the sweet scent of wildflowers, and the evening dew was beginning to settle on the soft grass that carpeted the forest floor. In a cozy clearing, surrounded by ancient oak trees whose branches stretched out like protective arms, lived a group of dear friends who loved to share peaceful evenings together. There was Oliver the gentle rabbit with his soft brown fur, Luna the wise owl with her downy feathers, Maple the sweet red squirrel, and little Willow the dormouse with her tiny pink nose. Every evening, just as the sky turned the color of lavender and rose petals, these friends would gather for one last peaceful game before bedtime. Tonight, as always, they met by the old hollow tree that served as their special meeting place. The moss growing around its base was as soft as the finest velvet, and tiny star-shaped flowers dotted the ground around them. "Shall we have our gentle game of hide and seek?" whispered Oliver, his long ears swaying softly in the evening breeze. His friends nodded with peaceful smiles, and Luna the owl offered to be the first to seek. She was always very careful to count slowly and softly, letting her friends find their perfect hiding spots without any rush or worry. "One butterfly flutter, two butterfly flutter," Luna began counting in her gentle voice, while her friends quietly padded away on the soft forest floor. The evening light was growing softer, painting everything in soothing shades of blue and silver. Maple the squirrel found a cozy spot in a bed of fallen leaves, where the autumn colors matched her russet fur perfectly. The leaves felt like a warm, natural blanket, and she could smell their sweet, earthy scent as she nestled deeper into their embrace. Little Willow the dormouse discovered a perfect hiding place beneath a curved mushroom cap, its underside glowing with a gentle, phosphorescent light. She felt safe and peaceful there, watching tiny dewdrops collect on nearby blades of grass, each one sparkling like a miniature star. Oliver the rabbit chose to hide behind a cluster of tall, swaying ferns. Their delicate fronds moved like peaceful dancers in the evening air, and Oliver felt his breathing become slow and steady as he waited quietly, watching the gentle movement of the plants. When Luna finished her counting, she opened her large, kind eyes and began to glide silently through the forest. Her wings made no sound as she floated past ancient trees and through patches of moonlight that were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. She first found Maple, whose peaceful breathing had caused a few leaves to rise and fall ever so gently. Luna smiled softly, and Maple emerged from her leafy nest with a contented sigh. Together, they continued the peaceful search for their friends. Willow was discovered next, having nearly drifted into a peaceful doze beneath her mushroom shelter. She joined her friends with sleepy eyes and a happy yawn, feeling the cool evening air brush against her whiskers. Finally, they found Oliver among the ferns, where he had been watching silver moths dance in the moonbeams. The four friends gathered in a small circle, their hearts full of the quiet joy that comes from being together. As they walked back to their hollow tree, the moon rose higher in the sky, casting its gentle silver light through the branches above. Stars began to twinkle one by one, like tiny nightlights in the vast darkness above. "What a lovely evening," Maple murmured, her voice soft and drowsy. The others nodded in peaceful agreement as they settled into their favorite spots around the old tree. Luna perched on a comfortable branch, while Oliver, Maple, and Willow found cozy nooks at its base. The night air grew cooler, and the forest wrapped itself in a blanket of peaceful sounds. Crickets began their gentle lullaby, and a distant stream sang its endless, soothing song. Far above, the leaves whispered ancient bedtime stories to one another. One by one, the friends began to drift toward sleep. Willow curled into a tiny ball, her tail wrapped snugly around her like a soft scarf. Maple's breathing grew slow and steady as she nestled into a bed of moss. Oliver's ears gradually lowered as his eyes grew heavy with sleep. Luna watched over her friends with gentle eyes, feeling blessed to share these peaceful moments with them. As she too began to feel the pull of sleep, she saw a shooting star trace a silent path across the night sky, like a goodnight kiss from the heavens. The forest continued its nighttime symphony, the soft rustle of leaves, the gentle hooting of distant owls, and the whisper of the wind through the branches. These sounds blended together into a perfect lullaby, wrapping around the sleeping friends like a warm, invisible blanket. And so the night deepened, with the moon keeping its quiet vigil over the peaceful forest and its sleeping inhabitants. The stars continued their gentle twinkling, watching over all the woodland creatures as they dreamed of tomorrow's adventures and tonight's sweet game of hide and seek. In the quiet of the night, the forest held its sleeping friends in a gentle embrace, keeping them safe and warm until the morning sun would once again paint the sky in shades of gold and pink, beginning another beautiful day in their peaceful woodland home. In a peaceful forest where silver moonlight filtered through swaying branches, there lived a small brown rabbit named Cotton and a gentle red fox named Maple. They were the most unlikely of friends, but that's what made their friendship so special. Cotton had the softest fur that seemed to glow in the moonlight, while Maple's russet coat shimmered like autumn leaves in the gentle evening breeze. One tranquil evening, as the sun was setting and painting the sky in soft shades of pink and purple, Cotton and Maple decided to play a peaceful game of hide and seek. The forest was settling down for the night, with drowsy birds singing their last lullabies and flowers slowly closing their delicate petals. "Would you like to seek first or hide first?" Maple asked Cotton in a gentle whisper, careful not to disturb the forest's evening quiet. Cotton's nose twitched thoughtfully as soft evening dew began to settle on the grass around them. "I think I'd like to hide first," Cotton replied softly, watching as fireflies began their graceful evening dance through the air. "Count slowly to 100, dear friend." Maple nodded and closed her eyes, her tail curling comfortably around her paws as she began to count in a peaceful rhythm. Cotton hopped quietly through the forest, passing beneath drooping ferns that whispered sweet nothings in the evening air. The rabbit found a cozy spot beneath an old oak tree, where fallen leaves had made a soft, crackling blanket. Settling down, Cotton watched the stars beginning to twinkle overhead through gaps in the leafy canopy. Meanwhile, Maple counted with peaceful patience, feeling the cool evening air brush against her fur. When she reached 100, she opened her eyes and gazed at the tranquil forest around her. The moon cast long, gentle shadows that danced slowly across the ground, and crickets had begun their soothing evening symphony. Maple padded softly through the forest, taking her time to enjoy the peaceful evening. She paused to admire how the moonlight made dewdrops sparkle like tiny stars on spider webs, and how the evening flowers released their sweet, sleepy fragrance into the air. As she searched, Maple remembered all the places where Cotton liked to rest during their afternoon walks. She checked behind the smooth gray boulders covered in velvet moss, and beneath the drooping branches of the weeping willow tree where they often shared stories. Cotton watched through half-closed eyes as Maple moved gracefully through the forest. The rabbit felt so cozy in the nest of leaves that a peaceful yawn escaped. The gentle rustling of the leaves above was like a lullaby, and the soft earth beneath was as comfortable as any bed. Maple continued her peaceful search, pausing now and then to listen to the forest's nighttime sounds. She heard the gentle hooting of an owl settling into its tree, and the soft patter of pine needles falling to the ground. The fox took deep, calm breaths, enjoying the sweet scent of night-blooming jasmine. After what seemed like a dreamy forever, Maple's keen nose caught Cotton's familiar scent near the old oak tree. She approached quietly, not wanting to startle her friend. There, in a perfect nest of leaves, she found Cotton curled up in a peaceful ball, having dozed off while waiting to be found. Maple smiled softly at her sleeping friend. Instead of waking Cotton, she gathered some soft moss and gently placed it around the sleeping rabbit like a cozy blanket. Then she settled down nearby, curling her tail around herself and watching the stars twinkle through the leaves. As the night deepened, more stars appeared in the velvety sky above. The forest grew quieter, with only the occasional gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. Maple felt her own eyes growing heavy as she watched over her sleeping friend. A shooting star streaked across the sky, leaving a trail of silver light that seemed to sprinkle stardust over the peaceful scene. Maple made a quiet wish for many more gentle evenings like this one, sharing the forest's tranquility with her dearest friend. The moon continued its slow journey across the sky, casting its soft light over the two friends. Other forest creatures who passed by saw the fox and rabbit sleeping peacefully near each other and smiled at this picture of perfect friendship. As dawn approached, the earliest birds began their soft morning songs, and the sky slowly lightened to the palest shade of blue. Cotton awakened gently to find the moss blanket around them, and Maple sleeping nearby. The rabbit smiled, knowing that sometimes the best part of hide and seek wasn't being found, but having such a caring friend to play with. From that night on, whenever Cotton and Maple played hide and seek in the evening forest, they would often end up falling asleep under the stars, sharing the peaceful darkness and each other's quiet company. And as they drifted off to sleep, the forest would wrap them in its gentle embrace, watching over them until morning's first light touched the treetops once again. The stars continued their twinkling dance overhead. The moon smiled down at the sleeping friends, and all was peaceful in the nighttime forest, where a simple game of hide and seek had turned into the most perfect bedtime story of In all. A peaceful forest where sunbeams danced softly through swaying leaves, there lived 3 little pigs who were the very best of friends. Each pig had built a lovely home that reflected their gentle nature and creative spirit. The first little pig lived in a cozy cottage of golden straw, which whispered sweet lullabies when the warm breeze blew. The second pig dwelled in a snug house of smooth wooden planks that creaked soothingly like a rocking chair. And the third little pig had crafted a warm home of sturdy bricks, with a fireplace that glowed like a sunset. On this particular evening, as fluffy clouds drifted lazily across the sky, the three little pigs decided to play a peaceful game of hide-and-seek in the forest. The air was warm and sweet, with the scent of wildflowers, and the setting sun painted everything in soft shades of pink and gold. Not far away, behind a cluster of silver birch trees, lived a lonely wolf. Unlike the scary wolves in other stories, this wolf was quite gentle and wished only to make friends. He would often watch the three little pigs from afar, admiring their joyful friendship and wishing he could join their peaceful games. As twilight began to settle over the forest like a cozy blanket, the first little pig volunteered to be the seeker. "I'll count slowly to 20, he said in his soft voice, while everyone finds a special hiding place. He covered his eyes with his pink paws and began counting in a melodious whisper. The second little pig tiptoed quietly through patches of velvet moss, finding a perfect hiding spot beneath a weeping willow tree. Its long, graceful branches swayed like a peaceful curtain, concealing him in nature's embrace. The third little pig discovered a hollow log carpeted with soft leaves, which made a wonderfully snug hiding place. The gentle sounds of the forest surrounded him like a lullaby, the quiet rustling of leaves, the distant murmur of a stream, and the soft cooing of sleepy doves. The wolf, watching this delightful scene unfold, felt his heart fill with warmth. Without really meaning to, he found himself joining the game, settling behind a large oak tree wrapped in ivy. His fluffy tail curled around him like a comfortable cushion as he waited quietly. "Ready or not," called the first little pig in a gentle sing-song voice, "I'm coming to seek you." He wandered slowly through the forest, appreciating the beauty of the evening. Fireflies began to emerge, dotting the air with their soft golden light. As he searched, the first little pig noticed subtle signs of his friends, a gentle movement here, a quiet giggle there. He found the second little pig beneath the willow tree, and they shared a warm smile. Together, they continued their peaceful search, their footsteps soft against the forest floor. The third little pig was discovered next, and all three friends enjoyed a quiet moment of laughter that floated through the air like dandelion seeds. But then they heard something unexpected, a small sneeze from behind the old oak tree. Carefully approaching the sound, they discovered the wolf, who looked rather shy and embarrassed. But instead of running away, the three little pigs noticed how gentle his eyes were, how soft his fur looked, and how his tail wagged hopefully. "Would you like to join our game?" asked the first little pig with a welcoming smile. The wolf's eyes brightened like stars on a clear night, and he nodded eagerly. "I would love to," he replied, in a voice as soft as morning mist. And so began a wonderful evening of friendship. They played several more rounds of hide-and-seek, with each friend taking turns being the seeker. The wolf proved to be excellent at finding cozy hiding spots, and the pigs discovered he had a delightful laugh that sounded like distant silver bells. As the moon rose higher in the sky, casting its peaceful glow over the forest, the friends began to feel sleepy. The wolf invited them all to his den, where he served them warm cups of chamomile tea. They sat together, sharing stories and watching the stars twinkle through the trees. The first little pig spoke of dreams filled with floating clouds and rainbow bubbles. The second pig described gardens of sleeping flowers and dancing moonbeams. The third pig told tales of gentle rain falling on roof tiles and the comfort of warm blankets. The wolf listened contentedly, his heart full of joy at finding such wonderful friends. As their eyelids grew heavy and their voices became softer, they decided it was time to head home. But before they left, they made plans to meet again the next day for more gentle games and peaceful adventures. Walking home under the starlit sky, the three little pigs felt grateful for their new friend. The wolf watched them go, his heart warm with happiness, knowing that loneliness was now just a distant memory. The forest settled into its nighttime rhythm, with owls softly hooting their good nights and crickets singing their evening lullabies. Back in their cozy homes, the three little pigs snuggled into their soft beds, while the wolf curled up in his den. They all drifted off to sleep with sweet smiles, dreaming of their wonderful day and the peaceful games yet to come. The gentle night wrapped around them like a comfortable blanket, and all was calm in the peaceful forest. In a peaceful corner of the whispering forest, where soft golden sunlight filtered through the leaves, lived two very special friends. One was a small chipmunk named Nutkin, with the softest brown fur and tiny paws that loved to gather acorns. The other was a gentle bunny called Clover, whose fluffy white tail bobbed gracefully as she hopped through meadows of swaying flowers. On this particular afternoon, as butterflies danced lazily through warm summer air, Nutkin and Clover decided to play a quiet game of hide and seek. The forest was perfect for their gentle adventure, filled with cozy hiding spots beneath drooping ferns and behind weathered tree trunks wrapped in velvet moss. Clover offered to be the seeker first. She covered her eyes with her long, soft ears and began counting in her gentle voice. 1 acorn, 2 acorns, 3 acorns, she whispered, while Nutkin tiptoed away on his tiny paws, looking for the perfect hiding place. The little chipmunk scampered quietly through patches of warm sunlight that felt like soft blankets on his fur. He passed by clusters of nodding wildflowers and patches of sweet-smelling clover. Finally, he found a cozy spot beneath an old maple tree where fallen leaves had made a soft, crinkly nest. Ready or not, Clover called softly, her voice carrying on the gentle breeze like a lullaby. She moved slowly through the forest, her pink nose twitching as she searched for her friend. The afternoon sun painted everything in warm, golden hues, making the forest feel like a dreamy wonderland. Clover looked behind a patch of swaying ferns, their delicate fronds dancing in the breeze. She peeked inside a hollow log covered in soft green moss. All around her, the forest whispered its secrets. The gentle rustle of leaves, the soft sighing of the wind, the distant melody of a sleepy songbird. Nutkin watched from his hiding spot as Clover passed nearby, her long ears swaying gently like cattails in a summer breeze. He tried very hard to stay still, but a tiny sneeze was building in his nose from the sweet-smelling flowers around him. Achoo! Came the tiniest sneeze, making a few leaves flutter. Clover's ears perked up at the sound, and she smiled softly. Following the sound, she discovered Nutkin curled up in his leafy nest. Found you, she whispered, with a gentle giggle that sounded like tinkling bells. Nutkin emerged from his hiding spot, brushing soft leaves from his fur. Now it was Nutkin's turn to seek. He covered his eyes with his tiny paws and began counting. 1 flower, 2 flowers, 3 flowers, he murmured, while Clover hopped away as quietly as she could, leaving barely a trace in the soft grass. The forest seemed to grow even more peaceful as Nutkin searched for his friend. He passed by a family of mushrooms growing in a perfect circle, their caps like tiny umbrellas, protecting the soft earth below. He walked carefully around a patch of sleeping dandelions, their white puffs swaying ever so gently in the afternoon air. High above, clouds drifted lazily across the sky, casting soft shadows that danced slowly through the trees. The warm afternoon was beginning to fade into a drowsy evening, and the forest was growing quieter, as if preparing for sleep. Nutkin found Clover curled up beneath a canopy of purple wildflowers, her white fur blending with the soft petals that surrounded her. They both smiled sleepily, realizing how the gentle game had made them feel wonderfully drowsy. "Shall we rest here for a while?" Clover suggested, patting the soft grass beside her. Nutkin nodded, his eyes already growing heavy. He curled up next to his friend, and together they watched as the sky turned soft shades of pink and purple. The forest continued its gentle lullaby around them, the soft whisper of leaves, the distant call of a mother dove, the quiet rustling of evening creatures beginning their nightly routines. A cool, gentle breeze carried the sweet scent of sleeping flowers. As the stars began to appear like tiny silver buttons in the darkening sky, Nutkin and Clover felt their eyes growing heavier and heavier. The day's gentle game had been perfect, filled with friendship and peaceful moments in their beloved forest home. The moon rose slowly, casting its soft silver light through the trees, creating patterns like delicate lace on the forest floor. Nutkin and Clover snuggled closer, their breathing becoming slow and steady. The forest wrapped them in its peaceful embrace as they drifted off to sleep, dreaming of their wonderful day of hide and seek. And so, beneath the watchful eyes of the twinkling stars and the gentle glow of the moon, two friends slept peacefully in their forest home, surrounded by the soft sounds of nature's lullaby. The evening breeze continued its gentle song, carrying dreams of future adventures through the quiet forest, where every day brought new opportunities for friendship and joy in the simplest of games. In the soft golden light of a peaceful African evening, where the warm breeze whispered through the tall grass like a lullaby, there lived two very special friends. One was Eleanor the elephant, with skin as soft as velvet and eyes that sparkled like gentle stars. The other was Geoffrey the giraffe, whose long, graceful neck seemed to stretch up toward the fluffy clouds that drifted lazily across the sky. Eleanor and Geoffrey loved spending time together in their beautiful savannah home. As the sun began its slow descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in gentle shades of pink and purple, Eleanor had a wonderful idea. "Would you like to play a quiet game of hide and seek?" she asked her tall friend, her voice as soft as the evening breeze. Geoffrey smiled down at Eleanor, his eyes twinkling with joy. "That sounds lovely," he whispered back, "but let's play very gently, so we don't disturb our friends who are getting ready for their evening rest." Eleanor nodded in agreement, and they decided she would seek first. She closed her eyes and began counting slowly and softly. 1, 2, 3. As she counted, she could hear Geoffrey's gentle footsteps moving quietly away, accompanied by the soothing rustle of grass. While Eleanor counted, Geoffrey looked around the peaceful savannah for a perfect hiding spot. The setting sun cast long, soft shadows across the land, making everything look magical and dreamy. He noticed a group of acacia trees whose leaves swayed gently in the evening breeze, their branches reaching out like welcoming arms. 18, 19, 20. Eleanor finished counting. She opened her eyes and gazed around the tranquil landscape. The air was filled with the soft chirping of crickets beginning their evening song, and far away, a family of birds was settling into their nest for the night. Eleanor moved slowly and peacefully through the savannah, her footsteps as gentle as falling leaves. She looked behind a large, smooth boulder that was warm from the day's sunshine. No Geoffrey there. She peeked around a cluster of peaceful sleeping flowers, their petals closed for the night. Still no sign of her friend. As she walked, Eleanor noticed all the beautiful, restful things around her. There were butterflies gently floating down to rest on soft flower petals. Little mice were curling up in their cozy grass nests. Even the clouds above seemed to be settling down for a peaceful night's sleep. Finally, Eleanor approached the acacia trees. She smiled softly as she noticed something unusual about one of them, a very long neck extending up through the branches. Geoffrey had tried his best to blend in with the trees, but his spots peeked through the leaves like gentle stars in the evening sky. "I see you, Geoffrey," Eleanor whispered with a warm smile. Geoffrey emerged from the trees, trying not to giggle too loudly. "Those trees were so cozy," he said softly. "The leaves were like a soft blanket around me." Now it was Geoffrey's turn to seek. He rested his long neck against one of the acacia trees and began counting slowly. 1, 2, 3. Eleanor moved quietly through the savannah, her steps as light as floating clouds. She found a wonderful hiding spot behind a group of sleeping bushes. Their leaves were soft and cool, and Eleanor felt very peaceful as she settled in. She could hear Geoffrey's gentle voice counting in the distance, mixing with the soothing sounds of the evening. When Geoffrey finished counting, he began his careful search. His long neck allowed him to see far across the peaceful savannah, but Eleanor had chosen her hiding spot well. He looked near the quiet waterhole, where the surface was as smooth as glass. He checked behind the large, round rocks that sat like sleeping giants in the grass. As Geoffrey searched, the sky grew softer and darker, with the first evening stars beginning to twinkle above like tiny night lights. The moon rose slowly, casting a gentle silver glow over everything. It made the savannah look like a magical dream world. Geoffrey moved gracefully between the trees and bushes, his long legs carrying him quietly through the tall grass. He noticed how the evening dew made everything sparkle softly in the moonlight. The air was becoming cooler and more peaceful with each passing moment. At last, Geoffrey approached the sleeping bushes. He saw a gentle movement and noticed Eleanor's trunk peeking out ever so slightly. "I found you, Eleanor," he whispered with a warm smile. Eleanor emerged from her hiding spot, feeling calm and content. The two friends sat together under the star-filled sky, watching as more and more stars appeared like tiny diamonds scattered across dark velvet. They felt peaceful and happy after their gentle game. The evening air wrapped around them like a soft, warm blanket. "That was such a lovely game," Eleanor said, with a peaceful yawn. Geoffrey nodded slowly, his own eyes beginning to feel heavy with sleep. "The most wonderful part," he whispered, "was spending this quiet time with you, my dear friend." As the moon continued its gentle journey across the sky, Eleanor and Geoffrey decided it was time to rest. they found comfortable spots near each other, Eleanor lying on the soft grass, and Geoffrey settling down beside her. The cricket's lullaby grew softer and softer, and the stars twinkled their own quiet goodnight. The peaceful savannah had grown very still now, with only the gentlest of breezes moving through the grass. Eleanor and Geoffrey closed their eyes, feeling safe and content in each other's company. Their game of hide-and-seek had been perfect, not too exciting, just peaceful and fun. Exactly right for a beautiful evening under the stars. And as they drifted off to sleep, the moon watched over them like a gentle guardian, casting its soft silver light across the peaceful African night. The stars continued their quiet twinkling, and all was calm and peaceful in their corner of the world, where two unlikely friends had shared a perfect evening of gentle play and warm friendship. In a peaceful forest, where tall trees swayed ever so gently in the evening breeze, lived a small group of woodland friends. The moon was rising softly above the treetops, casting its gentle silver light through the branches, making everything look magical and dreamy. Little Brown Rabbit was feeling particularly peaceful this evening as he sat in his cozy burrow, lined with the softest moss and sweetest smelling flowers. The warm summer air carried the gentle whispers of his forest friends playing their favorite bedtime game, a calm and quiet version of hide and seek. Gentle Gray Owl, who usually slept during the day, had agreed to be the first seeker. She perched on a low branch, her feathers as soft as clouds, and began counting in her gentlest voice. 1 acorn fallen, 2 leaves floating, 3 stars twinkling. She counted, her words floating like soft music through the evening air. Little Brown Rabbit hopped quietly through the forest, his paws making no sound on the carpet of soft pine needles. He found a perfect hiding spot behind a patch of sweet-smelling lavender, where the purple flowers swayed soothingly in the evening breeze. Nearby, Sleepy Red Fox curled up beneath a fallen log, his fluffy tail wrapped around him like a cozy blanket. The old log was covered in the softest green moss, making it feel just like a comfortable bed. Fox smiled peacefully, knowing this was the perfect spot to rest while hiding. Young Deer chose to stand very still among a group of slender birch trees, their white bark glowing softly in the moonlight. She looked just like another tree, her gentle breathing matching the slow swaying of the branches above. As Gentle Gray Owl finished her counting, she opened her golden eyes and glided silently through the forest. Her wings made no sound as she floated from tree to tree, looking for her friends. The forest was so peaceful at this hour, with only the softest rustling of leaves and the occasional quiet chirp of a sleepy cricket. The moon continued its slow journey across the sky, painting everything in soft silver light. Gentle Gray Owl first spotted Young Deer among the birch trees, noticing how the moonlight made her eyes sparkle like stars. They shared a quiet smile, and Young Deer joined Owl in searching for the others. Together, they floated and stepped through the forest, their movements as gentle as falling leaves. They found Sleepy Red Fox, who had actually drifted into a peaceful doze beneath his log. They didn't wake him right away, letting him enjoy his cozy rest for a few more moments. Little Brown Rabbit was still hiding behind the lavender, breathing in its calming scent. He watched through half-closed eyes as his friends moved quietly through the forest. The evening had grown so peaceful that he too began to feel quite drowsy. When his friends finally found him, They all sat together in a soft patch of grass, surrounded by the gentle glow of fireflies. The tiny lights danced slowly around them, like stars that had come down to play in the forest. Gentle gray owl suggested they play one more round, but everyone was feeling so relaxed and peaceful that they decided to simply rest together instead. They found a perfect spot beneath an old oak tree where the moss was thick and soft, and the view of the stars through the branches was simply magical. Sleepy Red Fox curled up once again, making room for little Brown Rabbit to snuggle against his warm fur. Young Deer folded her legs gracefully and settled down beside them, while Gentle Gray Owl perched on a low branch just above, keeping a peaceful watch over her friends. As they rested together, they listened to the forest's nighttime lullaby, the soft whisper of leaves, the gentle hooting of distant owls, and the quiet song of crickets. The moon continued to shine down on them, wrapping everything in its soft, silver blanket of light. One by one, the forest friends began to drift into peaceful dreams. Little Brown Rabbit dreamed of floating on soft clouds made of cotton grass. Sleepy Red Fox imagined drifting down a gentle stream on a bed of fallen leaves. Young Deer dreamed of dancing with butterflies in a meadow full of the softest flowers. Even Gentle Gray Owl found herself growing drowsy, her usual nighttime energy replaced by a peaceful calm. She watched as her friends slept soundly beneath her, their gentle breathing matching the rhythm of the swaying trees. The forest itself seemed to be falling asleep, with the fireflies slowly dimming their lights and the evening flowers closing their petals for the night. The stars twinkled softly overhead, like gentle nightlights watching over all the woodland creatures. And so, on this peaceful evening, the game of hide and seek had turned into something even more special, a quiet time of friendship and rest, where all the forest friends could share in the magical calm of the night together. Their gentle breathing mixed with the soft sounds of the forest, creating the most soothing lullaby anyone could imagine. As the night grew deeper and the moon continued its quiet journey across the sky, the forest friends slept peacefully, knowing they were safe and loved in their woodland home. The gentle breeze carried dreams of future games and adventures. But for now, everything was perfectly, peacefully still. High up in the emerald canopy of an ancient forest, where sunlight filtered through layers of soft green leaves, lived two very special friends. One was a gentle monkey named Whisper, who moved as quietly as morning mist through the branches. The other was a sleepy koala bear called Luna, whose favorite pastime was finding the coziest spots for afternoon naps. The forest was always peaceful at this time of day, when golden sunbeams painted warm patterns on the tree bark and soft breezes carried the sweet scent of eucalyptus leaves. Whisper and Luna loved spending their afternoons together, sharing quiet moments among the swaying branches. One particularly lovely afternoon, as Luna was beginning to feel drowsy after nibbling on her eucalyptus leaves, Whisper had a gentle idea. "Would you like to play a very quiet game of hide and seek?" he whispered to Luna, his voice as soft as falling leaves. Luna smiled sleepily, her round gray ears twitching slightly. "That sounds nice," she murmured, "but let's play it very slowly and peacefully." Whisper nodded, understanding that the best games with Luna were always the calm ones. "I'll count very slowly," Luna said, settling herself against a broad tree trunk. "And you can find a cozy hiding spot." She began counting in the most soothing way possible, 1, 2, 3. Her voice was like a lullaby floating through the branches. Whisper moved quietly through the canopy, his feet padding softly on the smooth bark. He found a perfect spot behind a cluster of broad leaves, where a dappled sunlight created peaceful patterns all around him. The gentle swaying of the branches made him feel as though he was being rocked in nature's cradle. Luna finished counting and opened her eyes, taking her time to look around the peaceful treetop world. She didn't rush or hurry, but instead moved with careful, gentle movements from branch to branch. The afternoon sun warmed her fur as she searched, making her feel even more relaxed. As Luna searched, she noticed all the wonderful, peaceful things in their treetop home. There were soft moss patches that felt like tiny cushions under her paws. Delicate flowers nodded their heads in the gentle breeze, and far above, fluffy clouds drifted lazily across the sky like floating pillows. Whisper watched contentedly from his hiding place as Luna passed nearby. He could have stayed hidden longer, but he didn't want his friend to become too tired. So he let his tail drift down just a little, like a gentle vine swaying in the breeze. Luna noticed the movement and smiled softly. "I see you, dear friend," she whispered, and Whisper emerged from his hiding spot with a peaceful smile. They both settled onto a wide branch, their backs against the sturdy trunk, feeling the warmth of the afternoon sun on their fur. "Now it's your turn to hide," Whisper said gently, but when he looked at Luna, he saw that her eyes were already getting heavy. "Or perhaps we could just rest here together for a while," he suggested, his voice as soft as moonlight. Luna nodded sleepily, grateful for her friend's understanding. The two of them sat together in comfortable silence, listening to the forest's gentle lullaby, the soft rustle of leaves, the distant cooing of peaceful doves, and the whisper of the wind through the branches. As the afternoon continued its quiet journey toward evening, Whisper noticed that Luna had drifted into a peaceful sleep. He carefully adjusted a nearby branch to create a little more shade for his friend, then settled back to keep her company. The warm air was filled with the sweet scent of flowers and the earthy aroma of the forest. Whisper watched as golden butterflies danced slowly through the air, their wings catching the sunlight like tiny floating dreams. The peaceful scene made his own eyes begin to feel heavy. Time passed like honey dripping from a flower, slow, sweet, and golden. The forest grew quieter as the afternoon deepened, and the sunlight took on a warm, amber glow. Whisper found himself thinking about how sometimes the very best games were the ones that turned into quiet moments of friendship. Luna stirred slightly in her sleep, and Whisper gently patted her paw. She smiled without opening her eyes, knowing her friend was near. The branches continued their gentle swaying, creating a natural cradle for the two friends. As the day slowly drew to a close, the first evening star appeared in the soft purple sky above the treetops. Whisper thought about how wonderful it was to have a friend who understood the beauty of peaceful moments. Sometimes the quietest afternoons were the most special of all. The forest settled into its evening rhythm, with the daybirds singing their last soft songs and the night creatures beginning their gentle symphony. Whisper and Luna remained together in their treetop haven, sharing the kind of peaceful friendship that needed no words at all. And as the stars began to twinkle one by one in the darkening sky, the forest wrapped its gentle arms around the two friends. their game of hide and seek had become something even more special, a quiet celebration of friendship, peace, and the simple joy of being together in their cozy treetop In a peaceful forest where the trees whispered softly in the evening breeze, there lived a tiny ant named Pip and a magnificent elephant named Luna. Pip was the smallest ant in his colony, while Luna was the gentlest elephant anyone had ever known. Despite their enormous difference in size, they shared the sweetest friendship that brought joy to all the forest creatures. One warm evening, as the golden sun was setting and painting the sky in soft shades of pink and purple, Pip was resting on a smooth, round pebble near the old oak tree. Luna came walking by, her footsteps as gentle as falling leaves. She carefully settled down beside her tiny friend, creating a soft breeze with her long, silky ears. "What shall we do this lovely evening?" Luna asked in her kind, quiet voice that always reminded Pip of warm honey dripping slowly from a spoon. The little ant thought for a moment, watching the fireflies beginning to dance in the growing twilight. "Perhaps we could play hide and seek," suggested Pip. "The forest is so peaceful at this time, and the evening shadows would make wonderful hiding places." Luna's eyes twinkled like stars as she nodded in agreement. "That sounds wonderful," she whispered. "Would you like to hide first, dear friend?" Pip nodded happily, and Luna closed her eyes, counting ever so slowly. 1, 2, 3. Her gentle counting floated through the air like soft petals in a spring breeze. While Luna counted, Pip scurried about, looking for the perfect hiding spot. He passed by a patch of sweet-smelling violets, crawled under a blanket of fallen leaves, and finally found a cozy spot inside a curved mushroom cap. The forest was growing quieter as night creatures began to wake, and day creatures settled down to rest. "Ready or not, here I come," Luna called out softly, her voice carrying through the evening air like a lullaby. She moved with incredible grace for such a large animal, carefully placing each foot to avoid disturbing any of the forest's smaller residents. Luna looked behind the old oak tree, peeked under ferns that swayed gently in the evening breeze, and checked near the babbling brook where water trickled softly over smooth stones. All the while, Pip watched from his mushroom hideaway, feeling snug and content. The moon rose higher in the sky, casting silver light through the leaves and creating peaceful patterns on the forest floor. Luna continued her careful search, checking each flower and leaf with patience and care. Finally, she noticed a tiny giggle coming from the mushroom patch. "Could my dear friend be hiding under this lovely mushroom?" Luna asked softly, her trunk gently touching the cap where Pip was hiding. The little ant emerged, laughing quietly. "What a clever hiding spot," Luna praised, her eyes twinkling with joy. Now it was Pip's turn to count, while Luna looked for a hiding place. The tiny ant closed his eyes and counted slowly, feeling the cool evening air brush against his antennae. 1, 2, 3. Each number was like a soft musical note in the quiet forest. When Pip opened his eyes, he began his search for his enormous friend. Of course, Luna was not very hard to find. She had tried to hide behind a young maple tree, but her gentle gray sides peeked out on both sides. Still, Pip took his time, pretending to look in all sorts of places. He checked under leaves and behind stones, in flower patches and near the stream. All the while, Luna tried her best to stay still, though sometimes her trunk would sway gently, or she would let out a tiny, happy rumble. Finally, Pip approached the maple tree. "I wonder if my dear friend Luna might be behind this tree," he called out softly. Luna stepped out, her eyes filled with warmth and joy. "You found me," she whispered, careful not to disturb the evening peace. As they played a few more rounds, their movements became slower and more peaceful. The forest grew quieter around them, with only the soft hooting of owls and the gentle rustle of leaves in the night breeze. Luna's hiding places became easier to find, and Pip's searches became sleepier. After one final round, Luna noticed her tiny friend yawning. She carefully lowered her trunk to the ground, creating a perfect curved path for Pip to climb up. "Perhaps it's time for us to rest," she suggested softly. Pip nodded sleepily and crawled onto her trunk. Luna carried her dear friend back to the ant colony, moving as smoothly as a cloud drifting across the night sky. The stars twinkled above them like countless fireflies, and the moon cast its gentle silver light upon the peaceful forest. As they reached Pip's home, Luna carefully lowered her trunk. "Thank you for a wonderful evening, my friend," she whispered. Pip smiled sleepily and waved his tiny antennae. "Sweet dreams, Luna," he murmured, before disappearing into his cozy home. Luna walked slowly back to her own resting place, her heart full of happiness from the simple joy of playing with her friend. The forest settled into its nighttime quiet, with all its creatures drifting off to sleep under the watchful gaze of the moon and stars. And so ended another peaceful day in the forest, where the unlikely friendship between the tiniest ant and the largest elephant showed that the sweetest connections can form between the most different of friends, especially when hearts are gentle and kind. In a peaceful garden, where the evening air was soft and sweet, lived a tiny firefly named Luna. Her gentle glow was like a floating star, dancing through the twilight hours. Luna's best friend was a graceful dragonfly called Whisper, whose shimmering wings caught the last rays of the setting sun. One particularly lovely evening, when the moon hung like a silver pearl in the velvet sky, Luna and Whisper decided to play their favorite game, hide and seek. The garden was perfect for their gentle game, filled with nodding flowers and swaying grass stems that made wonderful hiding spots. "Would you like to seek first?" Luna asked her friend, her soft voice carrying on the evening breeze. Whisper nodded, his transparent wings catching the moonlight. "I'll count to 20 while you find the perfect hiding place," he whispered, settling onto a smooth river stone. Luna floated quietly through the garden, her warm golden light dimming to the faintest sparkle. She passed the tall purple bellflowers, their petals beginning to close for the night. She drifted by the sleepy roses, who were nodding their heavy heads in the gentle breeze. Finally, she found the perfect spot beneath a large, velvety leaf of the morning glory vine. Whispers counting floated through the air like a lullaby. 18, 19, 20. "Ready or not, here I come," he called softly, spreading his wings and gliding into the garden. The moonlight made his wings shimmer like drops of water as he searched among the peaceful plants. He looked behind the sturdy stems of the tall sunflowers, whose faces were turned toward the evening sky. He peeked inside the cup of a sleeping tulip, its petals creating a cozy shelter. He even checked beneath the broad leaves of the peaceful pond lilies, floating like green islands on the still water. Luna watched from her hiding place, trying very hard not to giggle as Whisper flew past her several times. Her tiny light glowed just a little brighter when she felt happy, and she had to concentrate on keeping it dim. The evening air was filled with the sweet scent of jasmine, and crickets had begun their gentle evening song. After searching for what felt like a very long time, Whisper settled on a nearby flower to rest his wings. "Oh, Luna," he called softly, "you found such a wonderful hiding place." Just then, a small breeze rustled the morning glory leaf, and Luna's light twinkled ever so slightly. "There you are," Whisper exclaimed quietly, gliding over to the leaf. Luna emerged with a gentle smile, her light glowing warmly. "You found me, now it's your turn to hide," she said, settling onto the river stone to begin counting. As Luna counted slowly and steadily, Whisper glided silently through the garden. He passed the nodding heads of lavender, their purple spikes releasing their soothing scent into the evening air. He flew by the soft, white petals of sleeping daisies and the delicate tendrils of climbing jasmine. Finally, Whisper found the perfect hiding spot inside an empty snail shell, curled like a tiny moon on the garden path. The shell was smooth and cool and felt like a cozy little house. He tucked his wings in carefully and waited. Luna finished counting and began her search, her gentle light illuminating the quiet corners of the garden. She looked among the ferns, their fronds swaying like green feathers in the evening air. She checked behind the old stone wall, where moss grew soft and thick like a green blanket. The moon climbed higher in the sky as Luna continued her peaceful search. The garden grew quieter, with only the occasional soft rustle of leaves in the breeze. Even the crickets seemed to be singing more softly now, their lullaby becoming slower and more peaceful. Luna's light grew a little dimmer as she began to feel sleepy. She looked inside a hollow log among the patches of soft moss, but no sign of Whisper. She was about to give up when she noticed the little snail shell glowing ever so faintly with reflected moonlight. "I found you, Whisper," she called softly, watching as her friend carefully emerged from the shell, his wings a bit crumpled from being tucked away. They both yawned, realizing how late it had grown. The moon was now high overhead, casting silver light on the sleeping garden. "Perhaps we should rest now," Luna suggested, her light growing softer and softer. Whisper nodded sleepily, his wings moving slowly in the night air. They found a comfortable spot on a large, soft leaf, where the moonlight created a gentle silver blanket over them. As they settled down to rest, Luna's light pulsed slowly, like a peaceful heartbeat. Whisper's wings folded like delicate paper, and his eyes began to close. The garden around them was quiet now, with only the gentlest whisper of leaves in the night breeze. The crickets sang their softest lullaby as Luna and Whisper drifted off to sleep. Surrounded by the peaceful garden, the moon watched over them like a gentle guardian, its silver light growing softer and softer as the night deepened. And so the two friends slept peacefully, dreaming of their gentle game of hide and seek in the moonlit garden, while the stars twinkled quietly overhead in the vast velvet sky.